Questions that I often get are around wills and executors, beneficiaries, and trustees. So let's touch on what the role of each of these individuals are and discuss in a little bit of detail what you need to consider when naming a beneficiary on your will. So the role of an executor is just to settle your estate. This is not an honor to be asked to be an executor. It's a lot of work. It should be done by somebody that knows financial information and can have the capabilities of settling an estate. The next key member that's named in a will is the trustee. A trustee typically will manage money for minor beneficiaries. Often people think the executor and the trustee need to be named as the same individual. I often challenge people to consider naming an executor and a trustee to be different individuals. The executor settle the estate, and then the trustee to be the person to manage funds for beneficiaries. Now, lots of questions that we get around beneficiaries. How to name beneficiaries properly and when to give your estate to beneficiaries. So I often also challenge people on really considering when they are willing to give their estate to their children. A lot of people like to say in their will that they'll give their estate to their kids when they're 25. I don't know why, it's just a nice number. Kids are done university and they're going to give their estate when they're 25. Really think about this. Most children at age 25 or young adults at age 25 aren't capable of inheriting an estate of any significant amount. It doesn't mean they can't inherit part of your estate, but awarding them all of the money right away at that age could be a dangerous move. Also think about divorce with your children. If you did give your estate to them when they're 25 and they were to get married at a younger age and divorced and the inheritance was mingled with marital assets, half of your estate could go or be subject to a separation or a divorce. So here's what I'd like you to consider and think about. I'd like you to consider setting up a trust within your will. And this is typically what most people do when they set up their will. They'll name a trust as the beneficiary of the estate, and the beneficiaries of that trust are the children. What a trust allows you to do, it's set up at death, so there's no fees to have the trust in place or to name a trust. The trust is set up at your death, and you can stipulate how the trust funds are managed, when the kids get access to the money, when the distribution happens, and how it happens. And so you can say that the money's held in trust until age 30, 40. My husband and I go as old as age 40 because we want our children to be financially responsible on their own and know who they are and know how they're going to manage money before they're going to inherit it. The trust can also stipulate that the kids can have access to the money for education, for healthcare. Maybe you want to give them money for a down payment on a home. So you can stipulate all the rules. So it's really the best of both worlds, giving them access to money when they really need it, but giving them the full estate when they are really financially mature and ready for it. I get a lot of questions around single parenting with children. And so this is something that, again, often when people separate or get divorced, they'll want to name their kids direct as beneficiaries in their will and on their life insurance policies. But again, when you do this, your kids will inherit the money when they're 18 years old. Okay? If you name a minor beneficiary on a will or an insurance policy, they'll get the money when they're 18. It's just too young. So again, what you want to do is set up a trust in your will, naming the trust as the beneficiary. You also want to name the trust on insurance policies. And that means that when you pass away, the money goes in trust and it's held there until the kids are of age and access to the money if they do need it, according to how you set the trust rules. So naming beneficiaries is super important. You really have to understand when you're just writing down kids as beneficiaries on a will or on a form or on an insurance policy, the impact to your kids' lives by giving them the money at a young age versus really allowing them to set up their own lives financially and then giving them the money when they're financially responsible enough to do so.